Oh, good morning, my friends. Yep, it's still morning. I had to stop and look at the time. Welcome to the NeedleBugg, and my name is Karen. And if you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. And I hope you find something here that you like. And if you're one of my returning viewers, thank you so much. You guys are the best. uh, Hanging with me for as long as you have, and I do appreciate each and every one of you for stopping back every time you see a video posted, or most times you see a video posted. So I thought I'd drop in today to do a bit of a stitch with me and um, follow the progress on Autumn Church Frame. I had to stop and think of the title. It's by Dominique Davidson, and you can see a picture down in the lower right hand corner. I always get it backwards, whether it's my right or your right or my left or you. Anyway, you can see a picture of it down in the corner. Where I'm working is up at the top and in the window. And I started some of the first window pane. You can see some of the trees in here. This is the sashing between the windows. And in here is where I'm going to work today. And that is probably mostly sky that you can see. So that's what we're going to stitch today. I thought, well, you know what? If I when I'm talking, I like something that's easy to stitch on. So that's what I thought we'd try today. And if any of you want to stitch along, let's see how many stitches we can get done in an hour. Because I plan on being probably only being here for about an hour. Um, my husband is away at an doctor's appointment this morning, so he should be probably not home for most of this. And I do want to hear how he makes out once he does get home. So that's probably why it's probably only going to be about an hour or thereabouts, maybe even a little shorter depending on when he gets here. His appointment today was actually, well, as those of you who have been following me for some time know that my husband has COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So he needed to have his inhalers reevaluated. They had made some changes a little bit ago. And the changes were really not, let me get a little bit more here. There we go. Really were not very beneficial. In fact, my opinion, strictly my opinion, because we all know I have some, my opinion is that he's actually worse on the new inhalers. Now, what they were trying to do was to get him off of the steroids, which that is a good thing, and I don't have any objection to that. However, when he's not on the steroids, then he's having a bit more trouble breathing, not so much when he's sedentary, but on exertion. So if he goes out to just so much as to walk to the mailbox, or like yesterday, he had used the riding mower a couple days before, but thought he had to get out the weed eater and do the trimming. Well, needless to say, that does him in every time. Do a little bit, then he has to stop and sit for a then he does a little bit more, stop and sit for a little bit. And then, well, we all know the heat, although yesterday the heat was bad, but the heat does him in. I'm going to show you. I got this little itty bitty knot here. I'm going to show you a trick. If it works this time. Okay, if you can catch it before it gets pulled extremely tight, you take a hold of the loop. And then what I try to do is even out the strand. And if you just pull on that loop, you can slide the knot right out. If I get another one, I'll show you again. But as long as you can catch it before you've pulled it really tight, if you just make sure your both sides of your thread are even, take a hold of the top of the loop and just pull it up straight. And what you will feel happen is that thread, instead of being wrapped around that it will tighten, you pop it, it kind of pops the other direction so that you can just pull it loose. So it's a little trick. But now if you've pulled your thread way tight already, it's not going to work. But if you can catch it before you get it to that point of being super really tight, oh, see, I did it again. Okay, there's the knot. Okay, I'm gonna take a hold of the loop. I'm gonna see they're even, and I'm just going to get my fingers underneath the loop and pull up and just drag my fingers along the floss, and it will just pull the loop. It'll pull the knot right out, as it did there again. And is this going to be a day where we have a gazillion knots? Should have brought my little sponge with, or my damp sponge, put my thread through that, because that will help with eliminating the fact that your thread wants to, sometimes when you have it on, a whole new discussion again about kind of the same thing. When you have it on bobbins and you get those kinks from the bobbin, it tends to want a knot for you. And even when I have mine on thread drops, which is kind of what I did, because much as I liked my floss anthology pages, I was getting, and here I go again, I was getting a little annoyed. And I was getting a little annoyed because of what to do with the leftovers. Oh, such a dilemma. I had even bought the felt that's sticky on one side and put those on the pages, and well, I didn't really like that. It did help to control them a bit, but it was it made the pages so thick. And the other thing is, there was still the other thing that started happening is, as you used up your thread and the amount of thread in the channel got less and less, the more tendency for the thread to start pulling out of the channel when you were pulling one strand. So it was creeping up. So you know what? You live, you learn, you try. You may like, you may not like. It's all the tools of this craft all seem to be a big experiment until you find what works for you. And let me tell you what, I've been through so much stuff finding what works for me. And sometimes it works for a little while and then it just doesn't. I really am stitching. This color is almost matching my fabric, so you're probably having a hard time seeing it. Seeing it. I don't know, can I get you closer? There you go. Now you can kind of sort of see it. I'll be switching colors in a minute or two or three. So I went back to, oh, here's what I did. I had bought business cards, not business cards that were printed, but Avery business cards that you could make your own and print. So I just tore those apart and punched holes in those and put me all on rings again. I don't know. But anyway, the point I was going to make before I got dramatically sidetracked was even when you pull it off of these, sometimes your thread gets all crinkly. So when I pull a thread off again and it does that, I'm going to show you another little trick for how to get rid of those crinkles. Or yeah, it kind of like curlicues up. So I will show you another trick to get rid of those. Now, what I'm doing, again, you see, sore back today, folks. I think I slept wrong. So I'm trying to find a place of comfort on this chair. Um, oh, lose the train of thought. Good Lord, all Friday. Um, as you see, I again have switched my style of stitching. And it just so happens all of this color actually is just going down this column. But that is not my main thing that I'm doing. What I'm kind of doing is picking an area, a section, and stitching all the color, all of one color within that section. And then whichever comes first. If I run out of thread or I run out of symbols to stitch, whichever comes first. That way, too, I avoid having little ends of thread to deal with. So that is kind of sort of what I'm doing at this point in time. Now, it just so happens, then we get down to a whole big bunch of it. It just so happens this, up until this point, all of this color was in this same column. And that's okay. So we're just going to keep stitching this color until my thread runs out. I've come to the definite conclusion that barking is not my thing. I have given it the best shot I can. I have done it so many times. I've given it a try. It has driven me a little bonkers so many times. So I am just at the point where I'm coming to the distinct conclusion that I am not going to park anymore. And I just need to come up with what my alternative to that is going to be. And in all honesty, I think the way I stitched years ago before technology came around was stitching in sections. And I told you guys all this before. It was stitching in sections by color. And if I still had thread left on the needle, I would spill over into the next section so that I didn't have straight lines. And I would just color complete within that area. I would color complete within that area until either I ran out of thread or I ran out of symbol. And then I would go to the next color. Now, the way I picked my colors was I would do the color with the least amount of stitches first. And the reason for that was because that way I didn't have to stop and start my thread all the time. That way I could just carry my thread from one stitch to the other, even if it was 15 or so stitches away, it didn't matter. I could carry it because I knew it was all going to get stitched over when I stitched that last color, which was going to be the color with the most stitches. So I would work my way up from the colors with the least stitches up to the colors with the most stitches. And that's basically how I would stitch it. And I knew that any thread carries that I had were going to get covered over and all worked in, and therefore it was not going to be a big issue of having loose threads across the back. Because for me, if I have loose threads across the back, in there, inevitably what happens is after I've washed it and ironed it, or after I've washed it, had it all the water out as best I could, and go to iron it dry, I would invariably catch on those loose threads and pull them. So I try to do whatever I can to avoid having long loose threads on the back, because my point of my iron would find them. It was like they had a it was like a homing pigeon, have have a long length of thread there exposed, and that iron went right to it and found it, no matter what. But now I have another question for all you guys. I was reading this morning while I was having my first cup of coffee, because now I'm having my second cup of coffee. But I was reading this morning about washing your needlework or your heaven and earth design, whether it be washing it before it's finished or washing it when it's finished or whatever. Well, I have always been one that washes when it's finished. And I have a video up of how I wash my needlework in the sink with some a small amount of Dreft laundry detergent, and I let it soak in the sink and change the water a couple times if I need to, and yada, yada, yada. Well, this morning I was reading a discussion about washing your piece in the washing machine. So, my question becomes, how many of you wash your piece in the washing machine? And what kind of results do you get? Do you have trouble with, now granted, if you're going to wash it in the washing machine, you have to make sure your edges are bound off in some fashion, not just fray check, but either zigzagged or sewn in some way or something, because if they're not, I would think that it would fray, the fabric would fray more by putting it in the wash machine. So, but I'm curious, how many of you do that? And if you do, what cycle do you put it on? I mean, do you put it on delicate? Do you put it through a quick wash? Do you use cold water? Do you use warm water or hot water? I'm just, because I have never put anything in, well, not anything in the washer. Of course, I wash every week, but I've never put any needlework in my wash machine. I've not done that. So that is something new to me. And I really like to hear how you folks handle that. Does anybody do that? And if you do, how do you do it? Meaning, what do you put in the washer? Do you use regular laundry detergent? Do you put maybe Dawn in there? What temperature water do you use? If it's gridded fabric, what temperature water do you use? And do you like put it in, let the washer fill, and then let it soak? Or what is your method? This is what I'm asking. Like I said, I've never done it that way, so I'm pretty clueless when it comes to that. But always willing to learn something new. So I would be, sorry guys, stiff back. Know what I did? I woke up with it this morning. It's like sciatica. Oh, don't get old. Let me tell you, don't get old. It really stinks. Okay. Well, now I'm just going to fill in this color and I'm going to catch those odd stitches up there later. Oh, geez, this is going to be another. How did I realize this was going to be all light colored stitching? I might have chosen a different area, but we're here now. So we're just going to go with it. White on ecru. I need one of those things that you put around your shoulders and back that make you sit up straight and pull those back muscles up instead of having the tendency to want to do this. And it hurts more. But hey, we'll live. Well, now, of course, that one didn't do it. But let me try and find something that's crinkly here. That's the thread we're going to pull one of these because it has some crinkles in it already. Okay. Do you see how when it comes off, it's kind of wrinkled up? All right. If you don't have a damp sponge, or if you're using wax or thread magic, this one isn't too bad, but I mean, it does have some crinkles in it. What you do is take one end and wrap it around this finger, take the other end and wrap it around your other finger, and then just go like this a couple times. Pull it a couple times. And after you do that, it's straight. I'm not sure why it works. I can just tell you that it works. I do that quite frequently, but it comes out straight. You just have to snap it. I think it does something with loosening up the fibers, but if you just snap it like that a few times, it will take the kinks out. Um, Now, preferably if you have a damp sponge, I would do that. But if you don't, that's another option for what you can do, and that will also help to keep your thread from maybe tangling and knotting and what have you. Gotta change positions again. And I have to say, guys, I'm just since I got my new glasses, it is amazing. Absolutely amazingly wonderful. Take notice, I don't have cheaters on top of these glasses to be able to see this, and I can see it just fine. Just fine. Where before, even on this 22 count, I had to use cheaters to be able to see it. And just because I had to do a little bit of experimenting, um, I'm laughing because I just sent some fabric this morning to Kaylee that I had promised to send her some 56 count. And it's the 56 count even weave that they aren't making anymore. So a friend of mine had some, and she knew she was just never going to use it. So I had told Kaylee we would send it to her. Well, went in the mail this morning. But I myself, just for kicks and giggles, had a piece here that from before that I kept just in case I wanted to ever give it a try again. Well, I pulled that piece out last night, and would you believe would you believe if I put my cheaters, just my 3.0 cheaters on top of these glasses? Now, I do not regret anything that I did. So don't even think, oh gosh, and she got rid of all that fabric. No. Yes, I got rid of all that fabric, but that is perfectly fine. And I just did this row of stitches in the wrong place. And you know what? The only people that are going to know that is you and me. And I'm not going to take it out because it's not going to be big a deal. Jump way back over here. But yeah, no, I don't regret anything at all. And that's, I'm perfectly okay with it. And I am perfectly okay and thrilled that so many people are going to try stitching on that. So, Kelly, if you're listening to this, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Chances are I'm not never going to really stitch on it. That the likelihood of my stitching a piece on it is about slim to none. I just wanted to satisfy my curiosity. Could I see it now that I got my eyeballs straightened out? What I'm more upset with is the fact that I suffered for a year with that blurry vision and not being able to see my stitching and all of that stuff. So that I'm more upset about than the fact that I got rid of so much fabric. No, I'm just happy to see that it went to good home. That was yeah. Hey guys, so here we go. There's another knot, right? So just put your fingers underneath it and pull up. Because I caught that one really early. Well, what's your stitch count by this time? We are 33 minutes in, and we get 100 stitches in an hour. I now have 40. Well, let me mark off Afui. Forget to move that. I now have, as of 33 minutes in, I have 56. So that means we have about 25, 27 minutes yet till we hit an hour. And we'll see how many we get done in an hour. I may run out of things to jabber on about. We're going tomorrow down to visit my daughter. So that should be something fun. And the grandkids. So I was, I gotta sit up a minute here. Oops, sorry. For something, just gotta sit back a minute. Okay. For something different in the evenings, I was knitting some socks. So this, oh, then I can sit back. But in the evening, instead of stitching because my eyes would get so tired, I was knit my grandkids some socks. Now they're just the shorties, okay? They're not the regular sock like that comes up your leg. They're the shorty ones that come to your ankle. Well, you wouldn't believe how many tries it took me till I actually got them made that they fit. So the first time that I made them up to the heel, Emmy couldn't even get them on her foot. they were they were way too small. Now you have to remember these are just kids, okay? So they're 7 years old and 8 years old. Soon to be 8 and 9. Oh my God, I don't know where the year. But anyway, so I'm thinking in terms of small kids need smaller socks. Well, with these two guys, gals, kids, that's not the case. So after the first try didn't even come close to fitting, took them home, and I only had done one. Okay, so I didn't go all out and make the whole shebang. I only did one. So I brought it home, I ripped it out, made what I thought was bigger. Turns out when I knit continental style, I knit very tight. So knit it up to the heel again. No, I did the heel this time. I thought, okay, let's knit the foot. I do from the toe up. Okay, so I knit from the toe up the foot and around the heel. Well, try number two, she couldn't get them on. They wouldn't go up over her heel. So the instep part, I guess you could call it, wasn't quite long enough. So I brought them home, ripped again, and redid that to make it longer. So, I mean, she could get it over her foot. She just couldn't get it up around the heel. So I brought it home and lengthened it. And that was take number two. So yeah, the last time we were down, I lengthened the instep, did the heel, left them on the needles, and had her try them on. And she could finally get them at least over her heel. So then all I had to do was finish up the little bit and the ribbing and then make the second sock. So at the same time, Abe, who actually they wear the same size. They yeah, they are in the same size clothing, the same size shoes, the same size everything. Emmy's a little bit big for her age, and that's, nothing wrong with that. And AB is, well, he's a long drink of water, is what he is. He's just, sometimes he turns sideways and you go, "Where'd you go, Abe?" But they both wear the same size socks. So I thought I had him try Emmy's on, and they were okay for him. So brought the stuff home again and actually finished a pair of socks for each of them. So when we go down tomorrow, we normally go down on a Sunday. usually a Sunday morning, but they have stuff going on this weekend. And Emmy has a soccer game, of which we would go to if Glenn was better and could tolerate the walking, because it's quite a walk from where you have to park to where the game is, the actual game is. And I don't know, it just gives me the willies with his breathing of not being able to do that distance. So we'll see. So instead of, we're going down tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll go out for and spend some time. They were away on vacation over the weekend, so couldn't go then. Up, my husband is home. So we decided to go Friday since they're busy this weekend. So I guess we're only going to get 45 minutes here, folks, because I really do want to go see how he made out with the, I think it was a pharmacist that he was seeing. So really would like to go see or go talk to him. So I am going to cut this a little short. We got 45 minutes. And in 45 minutes, how about you guys? I did 80, about 85 stitches, which isn't too bad considering I yacked all the time. So with that, folks, I'm going to call it a day. And I'm going to thank you so, so very much for joining me today. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you next time. Have a great weekend. And remember, know the drill. The only rules in cross stitch are the ones you make for yourself. Bye-bye.